I mean, listen, there was a Colombo case where one brother testified against the other out in Philly in the Molino crew, right? The two brothers, one shot the other one.
Yeah.
Because they were in different crews. I mean, Cosa Nostra is Cosa Nostra, right? What comes first? The life.
Yeah.
Before your own family, right? When you listen, I sat outside a lot of guys being made. I know the old backwards and forwards. You know, my friends were all made. At one point, I was probably the only guy when I looked around one time that wasn't. So yeah, this life, your wife's on, ready to give birth to your child, and we call you. You're at your father's deathbed, and he's about to take his last breath. We call you. Yeah. The life comes before anything, and nobody's larger than the life.
You know, when you look at some of the guys that you were around, you know, for example, you mentioned John Alite.
Right. Oh, by the way, I was talking to Jimmy Calandria before I got here.
Yeah.
He knows you really well. He told me to say hello, send his best.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But, you know, for example, John Alite is essentially a mass murderer.
Not mass. You would say a serial killer, maybe? Mass is when you kill large groups.
Okay, well, he killed a lot of people.
Yeah, he did.
Over his
He's
years.
known as, and he's from my neighborhood. I've woken up and seen the bodies that he's shot when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Yeah, and there's no bullshit behind it.
Yeah. And, you know, we went down the line of,
you could go,
I started naming all the people that he allegedly killed, and he wasn't denying any of them.
No, you could go,
he was going into details about all the people he killed. Oh, this guy, this is what happened here. Oh, this guy, this is what happened here. This guy, this is what happened here.
I just filmed an episode with him on my own show, and he talked about all of them.
Exactly. So you're around these guys that are murderers, or repeat murderers.
This is what I was telling you about when I met the Sicario, how I felt that that's what he was. And I was around guys that probably just got done doing murders as a kid and playing handball in the park with them, shooting basketball, eating dinner, being insane. And it didn't feel like that. You know, it doesn't feel like that now. I talked to a lot of guys that changed their lives and came out of the life that were just serial killers. I mean, how else could you put it? You killed more than 3 people. What do you consider?
Right.
You know, and there's a lot of guys out there that have done that.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at that now, and you think about you being mixed up in all this and how, you know, these guys are so trigger happy that they'll turn on you for anything.
Anything.
You know what I mean? They think you're cooperating. They heard something. There's a rumor. You look like you're meeting with the feds, whatever else. You know, like, what was the movie? I think, was it Goodfellas? You know, where he said, you know, why take the chance? You know, where they just say, it'd be easier just to kill a guy like this. You know, when you think about you being mixed up in all this, how do you feel? And do you think that at any point you were almost killed, or was there a rumor over, you know, you potentially being a danger to the organization?
Never. But I was almost killed in the life. One of my childhood friends, one of my closest friends, I stuck up for, fought for, set me up to be killed. I actually walked into a room.
Really?
With plastic and everything. The guys, he wound up getting killed, the guy.
You walked into a room and there was plastic on
the floor. I had Tech 9 in my chest as soon as I hit the door.
Really?
And I knew it, actually.
How did that feel?
I was young, and that was like probably a surreal moment. Meaning, like, is this really happening right now? Like, my nerves didn't kick in. And I knew the guy was a murderer. The guy was a killer. You know, and he was strapped up. He had a guy sit on the couch strapped up. There was a kilo on the table. And a guy brought me there that supposedly didn't know that that's what he wanted to talk to me about. And when we rang the bell, he says, "Did you bring Hootie with you?" And I told the kid, "You got to take me home. I got to get a vest and a pistol if this guy's looking for me." He goes, "Nah, don't even worry about it." So I knew going up once he said my name, because why would he even say my name? And I went up there, and he put a Tech 9 in my chest. There was plastic on the floor.
Okay. You talked your way out of it?
No, I just talked the truth. He asked me what I got. He didn't know the level I was on. I was actually moving more weight than him. And it was about drug dealing. He asked the kid that I grew up with to sell drugs for him. And he says, "I can't." He says, "The kid Hootie has the whole thing on lockdown." He says, "Who's this kid Hootie?" He says, "He has it was the whole section of City Line in that block." And he found out who I was. And, you know, he was actually around Ronnie at the time. I wasn't officially around Ronnie yet. And how can I not know what this kid is doing? We're both from the same neighborhood forever. And he didn't like that. And this was a guy that I've seen killers be scared of. You know, kids that I know that were out there putting work in were scared of this guy. And I went anyway. And he put the gun to my chest and he asked me, who were you to sell drugs in my neighborhood? And I says, I've lived in this neighborhood my whole life, and I don't know what you're talking about. It's just as much as your neighborhood as it is mine. And the kid was Jewish. So I says, and I'm Sicilian to boot. I was actually rubbing him the wrong way, but he actually liked it a little bit. The whole point was he was trying to get me on his side to sell drugs for him because he had a good operation.
Uh-huh.
And he wound up liking me so much that he wasn't even collecting the money for a while. I was like, I can move an ounce here, an ounce there, break him into 20s. So I would take like an ounce a week off of him just to make him happy. And after a while, he wasn't even coming to pick up the money. And then eventually, the kid that told on me, he came to me and told me, he says, you got to take care of that kid. He wanted to give me a pistol and everything. I was like, yeah, all right. So that's not my game. Yeah. And then like 2 years later or something, like maybe a year, I don't know how long ago, he was shaking some kid down and the kid clipped him.